Welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, where we focus on the vital elements that shape our communities. I'm your host, SK, and in this episode, we are delving deep into the world of small businesses, the backbone of our neighborhoods and a key component of our economy. Today, we will explore the indispensable role of small businesses in community involvement, growth promotion, and preserving their unique character. Joining us today on the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast is Jordan Williamson, Vice President of Product Strategy and Data Solutions at Moneris. A luminary in the fintech arena, Jordan is celebrated for his forward-thinking approach to data solutions. Since joining Moneris in 2017, he has played a pivotal role in the launch of key payment solutions, significantly bolstering the support for Canadian small businesses. His acumen in interpreting trends and insights within the payment industry positions him as an invaluable contributor to our dialogue today, particularly in the context of small business growth and innovation. In our conversation with Jordan, we will cover a range of critical topics: how predictive spend data from Moneris can aid small businesses in maximizing opportunities and the key dates in December they should be aware of, actionable tips for small businesses to safeguard against fraud and common threats they might overlook, the importance of aligning with consumer trends through data solutions, including examples of successful adaptations. These discussions are pivotal in understanding how data and technology play a crucial role in the growth and security of small businesses. Stay tuned as we delve into these topics, offering insights and strategies crucial for small business success. Hello, Jordan. Welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Jordan, as we dive into the world of predictive analytics, small businesses are always seeking new ways to harness data for growth. Can you elaborate on how predictive spending data from Moneris can specifically aid small businesses in maximizing their opportunities, and what key dates in December should they be particularly aware of?
For sure. Yeah. So when we look at small businesses, they have the same challenges as all big businesses. So They need to understand how they staff their store, how they do inventory, what will be high times, what will be low times, to make sure that they're giving the level of customer service, or, depending on your field, guest experience that they want to maintain. So with that, having the power of data allows them to do that. And one of the things at Moneris we're most proud of is we're able to democratize that data and give it to everyone. So we're able to give industry-wide analytics to help people, but we're also able to offer it through products and services. Really importantly, if you are an existing small business and you have historical data, then you can use tools provided to you. If you're a Moneris merchant, you can go onto your reporting and see things like, what was my busiest day last year? So you can start to think, what will be my busiest day this year? For businesses that might just be starting out, you might not have that historical record. So using spend data like this, we're able to help you predict, so that you're not going into it blind. So when we look at December, obviously December is a busy month for all businesses pretty much. When we look forward ahead, we really see the Thursday before Christmas being the busiest day for most businesses. So that's where we use our data science to predict what will be the busiest day. And we see that Thursday being the busiest day. It will follow up with the Friday will also be busy. Tied for that second place was the Monday just coming up. But we see historically what we see in the trends is that Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday. I don't know if you've ever heard the term like Super Saturday or Panic Saturday.
Right.
That's where we're picking up the gifts right before we go to someone's house or something. So those few days leading up to the Christmas season, it's going to be very busy. So if you're planning staffing or inventory, or that you might need extra hands, probably that Thursday, Friday, Saturday is where you're looking.
So folks, make a note, Thursday and Friday are going to be the most busiest days, so plan accordingly. And Jordan, to build on that, how can small businesses effectively implement these insights from predictive data into their marketing or sales strategies?
Yeah, so you can do it in different ways, and different businesses have different aspects to show it. So a lot of times when we think about analytics for small to medium sized businesses, we kind of bucket it between knowing your business, knowing your customer, and then knowing your competition. So with each of those, the various metrics within there, you can start to plan accordingly. So what we just discussed is when will be my busiest day. That's knowing your business, right? And that's knowing that, hey, I might need to bring on extra staff, or if we know our business and, Moneris is able to tell us that Thursday is going to be a really busy day, but then historically it hasn't really been a busy day for me. So is there something I need to do for a marketing push or a sales campaign that can kind of get me the same business that my competitors are getting? So really looking into that. One of the things that I'm most excited about, it's a passion project of mine within our team, is we're looking to really give tailored insights to small to medium-sized businesses. So typically when we're talking about consumer trends, competitive insights, knowing your customers, a lot of times that's the domain of really big businesses, right? They have the access to that data. They have data scientists, data analysts.
They have all the facilities to get this kind of information. Where as a small business owners, they don't have all this. Right?
Exactly. But if you are, a small family restaurant, or if you're a small retailer, you're still competing against those big guys. So that's, as Moneris, as the partner of Canadian small businesses, we're looking to give those tools. So we're actually bringing a product that gives you all of those insights. So you can see, where my customers are coming from, how my sales were throughout the week, what they're going to be next week. And those tools are really powerful. A lot of small businesses, if you're not with Moneris, you look into the tools that are being provided to you, whether it's from your bank, whether it's from your payment provider. There's a lot of tools out there, and being able to, educate yourself on what your current providers have and how they're able to help you, and making sure that you're with the right business partners.
Right. Being with the right business partners is very, very important for the business success, right? It's fascinating how data can transform strategies, right? In a time where digital security is paramount, small businesses must stay vigilant against fraud. Could you provide some actionable tips for small businesses to safeguard themselves against fraudulent activities?
Yeah, for sure. So, obviously, again, back to your business partners, always just make sure you're with the proper business partners, because, when you're dealing with one of the big names, we have predictive tools in place to protect you as best as we can. But that doesn't mean that we can do everything. Right. So, everybody needs to protect themselves. So, some of that is just making sure that you have the right processes in place. So, for example, being both online but in store, a lot of times a merchant will say, well, I don't need to be online because I'm an in-store business, I'm a restaurant or some sort. Well, what that sometimes leads to is you're taking credit cards over the phone and you're typing them in. That really can open you up to fraud and other sorts of issues. So, if you're a restaurant, you can do online ordering. If you're some sort of professional services, there's functionality like invoicing, where you're able to send an email or a text message and securely having those. So having those tools in place is very, very critical.
Additionally, Jordan, what are some common fraud threats that small businesses might overlook, and how can they proactively address this?
Yeah. So one that I just kind of noted on is fraudsters could try to do some sort of social engineering to get you to manually enter a transaction instead of actually swiping or inserting. So whenever possible, always use either the insert or tap that your machine provides. If it's online, then having like a secure checkout is the way to go. But other things that you might see is sometimes fraudsters will, again, use social engineering, ask you to go get something from the back while they're in control of your payment terminal. So one of the things that we always advise merchants is never let that payment terminal out of your sight. So when anybody else has their hands on it, stay vigilant. I know a lot of times as small business owners or small business operators, we're doing 2, 3, 4, 5 things all at the same time. But when someone's touching your payment device, make sure you're just eyes locked on them and you know what's going on. It's good for customer service, right, but it's also good for your security and your protection.
Right. Those insights are invaluable for prevention. Let's shift our focus now to consumer trends. Consumer behavior is constantly evolving, and small businesses need to keep pace. Data solutions plays a critical role here. How critical is it for small businesses to align with evolving consumer trends, and in what ways can data solutions facilitate this process?
Yeah, so for sure, I agree 100% that all businesses, but definitely small businesses, need to keep up to date with the latest trends to remain competitive. One of the things that we did a campaign in the last couple months where one of our teams, we called it a Hit the Streets campaign, and we went out and we surveyed dozens of merchants. We did an interview, we spoke to them. This was to get insights on a product that we're launching, because of course, every time we make decision, it's rooted in data. But some of the qualitative information that we received from merchants was really telling. So we were actually getting feedback on a data product that we're launching. And what we were hearing from a lot of these small businesses is that they're already using data products. So whether they're getting it from a payment provider, a bank, or some other provider, they're using data and they're craving data. And one of the things that became very obvious to us was the businesses that were the most successful were the ones using these tools, because no one knows your business better than you do. And there's an immeasurable value to your gut or your drive or whatever we have it, but it's always better to back that up with data. Again, knowing your customer, knowing your business, and knowing your competition. Those things are so critical, and that's what makes sure that you're successful.
Right. Could you perhaps give an example of a small business that successfully adapted to a consumer trend using data solutions, and what outcome was?
Yeah. So one of the unique things that we're able to show is we're able to help merchants understand where all of their customers are coming from. And that can be used for a number of different purposes. I'll give two examples. So one is, kind of standard marketing outreach. So whether you're doing traditional media or you're doing digital media to reach your customers, you want to know where your customers are coming from, because you want to tailor that marketing campaign. Again, whether it's digital or physical, you still want it tailored. So that doesn't, depending on the business, you might decide, I need to market where I have no customers because your goal is new customer acquisition, or you might have a totally different marketing campaign for areas where I'm really well saturated because you're talking about loyalty and nurturing. So we're able to provide this location data, obviously always at an aggregate level. You never find out exactly who a person is, but you can see density of customers. Right. And that will allow you to know that, hey, this is an area where maybe I do a new customer outreach campaign, where this is an area where it's more of a nurturing campaign. So that's one example. And we've seen that put in place with a number of our merchants and been very successful. Another example, and I'll get a little vertical specific here. So for like restaurant providers, so whether that's fast food, that's quick service casual, or any other sort, obviously tools like the online marketplaces and delivery services are absolutely critical nowadays for these businesses. One of the things that you have to set up is how far out is your delivery radius. And I've had that experience before where I'm ordering and I see there's a restaurant that's relatively close to me, but they're not delivering to me. And then there's a restaurant that's on the other end of the city and they will deliver to me. Probably each of those businesses has a reason why they're doing that. But the way that you can use data to enforce that even more is you might see that you've set a 5-kilometer radius. Right. But when you look at where your customers are coming from, you know that the majority of your customers are within 10 kilometers. So maybe it makes sense to increase your radius to get to 10 kilometers to make that sales channel even more effective.
Right. This kind of data, information is very, very important for any business. As you rightly said, sometimes they are limiting themselves by putting a 5-kilometer cap. If they really look into the data provided in detail, they can make a better business decision that can grow their business, right? Yeah. These examples really put things into perspective. Now let's talk about payment processing innovations. The way we process payment is changing rapidly, offering new opportunities for small businesses. What recent innovations in payment processing should small businesses be aware of, and how can these innovations benefit them in today's market?
Yeah. Definitely the payment space and the wider commerce space is evolving like crazy. If we would reverse the clock 15 years ago, it was kind of, you got that simple payment device there and you could swipe credit and debit cards, and you really only cared to make sure that you could swipe every card that was there. Today's a very different time. So there's a lot of innovation. So one of the most recent innovations, I'll give you both a recent innovation, but then also a future prediction of innovation. So one of the recent innovations is this shift to online. And it's not the shift to online of e-commerce where I'm a retailer and I sell socks in store, and now I'm going to sell socks online. That's been here for a very long time. What I'm talking about is the transition from businesses who might not be selling, goods and getting online. So that's reservation services for restaurants or other hospitality venues within professional services or personal service. So this really exploded during the pandemic. Is probably a lot of us had experience at like a barbershop before where it was you walked in and maybe you were the next person, maybe you were that, maybe you called ahead and they jotted you down on a piece of paper. Right. Now more and more barbershops are requiring you to schedule ahead. And a lot of times you're now prepaying or you're putting a card on file. So those trends help those businesses stay current. It helps them stay secure again because they're capturing that information through secure means. It allows them to operate more smoothly. So that was a recent innovation. So what was, for retailers we've seen in restaurants, we've seen at barbershops, we've seen at massage therapists, we've seen at contractors and professional services where they moved online and payments are coming with them. So that's something we've seen recently and something we should all stay on top of. When I look to the future, it's no less busy and it's no less, emerging and evolving. So one of the things that we will see in the future is the ability to use our cell phones to capture payments. So what we will see is that you no longer need another device. You don't need to get the Moneris payment device.
So they can use their own phone device as a payment device. Right?
Yeah. So all of the phones that we're carrying in our pocket have NFC,
right,
which is how we're able to tap and stuff. Right. That's the same technology that we're using on payment terminals. In the past, we used hardware security to make sure that was secure. As the world has evolved, we're able to do that with software. Right. So we will see that all of the phones in our pockets and the tablets, and then it'll expand into other forms of smart displays and such, will become payment acceptance devices. And my prediction is that it will start with small businesses and then it will grow into larger businesses. And this offers better flexibility for businesses when it comes to price point. It's just easier because who doesn't carry a phone today? So they already have it. It's just another app you download. And I think that's going to be a big change over the next 12 to 18 months.
And so when it comes to security, as you're saying, in the future, a lot of businesses are going to use their phone as a payment device. So how secure it will be,
Yeah. So the one thing that you can have confidence on in the payment industry is security. So there's between PCI, which is the payment card industry, that's what governs how we deal with all payment data. Obviously, we have the major card brands, so things like Visa, MasterCard, Interact. And then you have the payments service providers like Moneris. And then you have your banks, whoever it might be, like an RBC. Every single party in that equation puts security at the utmost. So probably taking payments on your phone is something that businesses have thought about for years. And they're like, why can't I just do it on here? In the payment industry, we always put security first, and definitely for Moneris. So basically, we are at the point now where we can fully secure that payment process end to end, including on your phone, but also all the things that happen in the cloud to make it secure. Yeah. So it's staying ahead with this kind of key innovations is the key for success, right? Yeah, for sure. You want to have whatever tool available to you. So being able to keep up with the trends and having the most innovative technologies is definitely helpful. When we bring new technologies like this to the market, to Canadian businesses, it's to make it better for them. So whether that's a better price, a more flexible product, a better user experience, with this case, it's all of those things coming together.
Jordan, speaking of the future, let's discuss the fintech landscape. Fintech is a dynamic field with a significant impact on small businesses. Looking ahead is essential. Now, what development do you foresee in the fintech sector that will impact small businesses, and how should they prepare for these changes?
My opinion here is that what we will see is a lot more regionalization. So within fintech, you have international players, you have domestic players, and then you have regional players. What I would say, and I think we probably all agree, is that business in Canada is different than business in the United States. It's business than Europe. It's different than in Asia, right? So, and then within Canada, business within Quebec versus Alberta might be different. And then even when you go city by city, business
It's different, right?
Can be different, right? So what I see is a focus coming in regionalization where you have players focusing on the unique needs of these businesses so that we're able to adapt and change. So I'll give you a number of examples here. So we could be thinking about things like tax laws. We could be thinking about small business grants and bursaries. We could be thinking about just market dynamics and customer behavior, right? So all of these things play a factor. So being able to make sure that you're partnered with the right businesses that have the focus on you, that are doing work for Canadian businesses or whatever it might be, Canadian businesses and Canadian consumers, as a focus, I think that will become even more important going forward.
Right. What role do you think collaboration between traditional banking and fintech will play in the future for small businesses?
I think you will see a number of things happening. So one of the things that I like to point to is what we typically refer to as like peer-to-peer payments or account-to-account payments. So in different markets, you have seen an evolution of payments. So in India, you have UPI, which is kind of anybody from that's even traveled or came from the Indian market, what that is. In China, you have things like WeChat Pay, which are very common. In the United States, we have seen things like Venmo and Cash App really take hold. In Canada, we have Interact and we have e-transfer. That's something that has really stopped other things from coming into Canada because we are so well served by our banks. I see the evolution of that, where we're able to pay by banks through these types of networks to facilitate the movement of money easier in the future. So I really see that occurring more so in the future. I see that we have a great platform as a base. It'll continue to extend, and what might start off small as a benefit to some merchants, it's just a matter of time before every merchant is benefiting from those.
Right. The intersection of traditional banking and fintech is certainly an area to watch. Lastly, let's touch on managing transaction surges. The holiday season can be make or break time for many small and medium-sized businesses. What key advice would you offer to efficiently handle the expected surge in in transactions during this period?
Yeah, so I think I would circle back to some of the earlier conversation we had, that if you're a small business and you're gearing up for the busy holiday season, to use data available to you, whether that comes from Moneris, whether that comes from your payment service provider or your bank, to know when you're supposed to be busy. And then from there, make sure that you have every step in place. So if you have a day that you believe that you're going to see 50% more sales, then that's a time where, if possible, if within your means, it would make sense to bring on the extra staff, because obviously that's just better for your guest experience or your customer experience, that they're able to be tended to properly and make sure that you have all those steps of excellence in place. But it allows you to prepare to make sure that you're staying secure and make sure that you're handling your payments and every other piece properly. Things that you can do, that any business that accepts, credit or debit payments can do today, is make sure that you're accepting all payment types, so all card brands. Make sure that you have contactless enabled. Make sure that your staff is aware of these functionalities. Contactless payments are, I'm sure it's no surprise to anybody, but they continue to surge. They're going higher and higher. Just over the last 18 months, most of the card brands and most of the issuers have increased limits so that you can tap up to $250. Tap transactions are so much quicker. They're so much faster. So that allows you to kind of turn over a lot, which, it might not seem like a big thing, but if you're 3-4 people in line and you're helping them with bagging their stuff, you're having, your regular steps of service of, pleasantries when you're talking to them, being able to shave 10 seconds off that payment experience is crucial. And really, no one loves the payment experience. Like for Moneris, our goal is to make it seem frictionless, right? So in contactless is one way to do that.
Everyone want the ease, right? So to dive deeper, Jordan, can you suggest any tools or technologies that these small businesses can leverage to streamline the transaction process during these peak times?
Yeah. So, as I said, as long as you have enough staff and you have the means to bring that staff, make sure that they're equipped with whatever your checkout looks like. So if it's an extra payment device, whether that's your point of sale, being able to handle more, that's really important. If you take orders over the phone, so let's say you're doing flour delivery or you're doing meal services. I know a lot of people cater over the holidays. Instead of taking card numbers over the phone, writing those down on a piece of paper, which is not a good practice, you can look at tools. Sometimes they're termed as like a payment request. Sometimes they're termed as an invoice. This is where you're able to use an online portal or an app on your phone and be able to send it to an email or a phone number. It's much easier to just, you're probably already taking down that phone number. So now just to text it out to them instead of now copying down a Visa number, repeating it back, taking all of these steps, that can not only shorten the time and make sure you're getting off the phone quicker and serving more customers, but it also ensures that you're being safe. Because what you never want to do is, to deal with the short term by taking the easy way and then dealing with some type of fraudulent activity in the long term. Right.
Jordan, is there any special message that you would like to share with our listeners, like our small business owners?
Yeah, for sure. What I would say is that in the theme of this podcast, data, information, knowledge, that's power, and you should look to get it wherever you can. Apply what is useful, discard what is not, and make sure that you are giving your business all of the advantages that other businesses have. So it can seem daunting to think about, sales forecasts and revenue projections and, customer insights and such, but there's a lot of great providers out there, Moneris being one of them, that looks to make this as easy as possible for you. So those partnerships that you already have with businesses like ours, reach out to them, see the tools that they have so you can well equip yourself for, whatever comes next.
Jordan, it's been a pleasure hosting you today. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your valuable insights with our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jordan, for joining us today and sharing your valuable insights. In today's discussion, we have navigated through a range of crucial topics from understanding predictive spend to safeguarding against fraud. The key takeaways from our conversation is the importance of leveraging data and technology for small business growth and security. As we have learned, staying informed and adaptable in the face of evolving consumer trends and technological advancement is not just beneficial, it's essential for success of small businesses. Once again, I would like to thank our exclusive partners RBC, UPS, and Xero. Your support is vital in bringing these important discussions to our listeners. To our audience, we hope you find this episode enlightening. Remember to support your local businesses as they are the cornerstone of our communities. And don't forget to subscribe to CanadianSME Small Business Magazine for more insights. Visit our official website at CanadianSME.ca to stay updated. Until next time, keep fostering the entrepreneurial spirit in your community.